phone real quick.
If he's not talking.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. We're going to get started in just over a minute. Thanks for joining in tonight. If you can, let us know in the chat where you're calling in from. Okay, and it is 8 o'clock Eastern, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to our first professional development session. We will have a professional development session right now. It will also be hosted next week, and then we will have another session in January, February about leadership and mentoring skills. So we hope that this can be useful in your mentoring partnership and to improve your mentoring partnership and really improve yourself as a mentor or mentee. So if you're available, I just got a question in the chat. Are these sessions available for mentors or both? Mentors and mentees can be in the session. For all the mentors, if you're a registered dietitian, this has been pre-approved for one continuing education, and we will be sending those certificates after the session. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. If you can, let us know where you're calling in from. And if you have any questions while the session is going on, you can either pop it in the chat box or you can unmute yourself and just ask it live. So just let me know if you have any questions. But we're happy that you're here and able to attend. Looks like we have people from all over. I saw Texas, Ohio, New York, Indiana. So welcome. We're happy that you are all here. This workshop, like I said, is all about enhancing communication in a mentor-mentee relationship. So I'm going to be the lead for this presentation today. And then we also have Karen Bethard, who's my co-principal investigator. I'm from the University of North Florida. I'm Dr. Kristen Hicks-Roof. And then Karen Bethard is from Texas A&M University. So our learning objectives, again, this is one continuing education unit for all registered dietitians or dietetic interns who are about to be RDs. So really the whole goal is for you to learn more about communication, how to communicate effectively, and how to resolve conflicts. So we're going to start off with a quick poll. So the poll is live. The question says, how would you rate your communication with your mentor or mentee? So we'll give it about 5 more seconds if you can go ahead and submit your vote. Okay. So it looks like the majority have above average or excellent. So that's fantastic. We're happy that you're here in the workshop to learn even better communication skills. For those of you with average or below average, that's okay. You know, communication is one of the most difficult things in mentoring relationships. And that's why we're hosting this workshop to help you advance to the next level. So if you have any questions, definitely let us know. But we're hoping at the end of this session, all of you will be moved up to the above average or excellent category. So thanks for participating. Now, when it comes to a successful mentoring relationship, there are really requirements on both sides. So mentees have a specific skill set that they bring to the table, and the mentors have a specific skill set that they bring to the table. Mentees, one of the best thing about mentees is they learn really quickly for the most part. And so that's an advantage for our mentors. And we have to understand that that may be one of the skill sets that our mentees are bringing. Our mentees, we want to make sure that they're showing initiative because we are, as mentors, they are providing their time, right? They're providing their time and resources. And so the mentees, we want you to make sure that you're capitalizing on that by showing initiative and following through. But on the mentor side, it's important that we are providing communication and whatever task and corrective feedback that we need to give. It's a reciprocal relationship. So communication is not one way, as you all know. And so it's important for both the mentor and mentee to be receiving feedback. It's also an opportunity to open doors. Hopefully, between the mentor and mentee partnerships that you have this year, you are realizing that it's opening doors, it's creating professional connections. And that's one of the perks of the program. You know, ultimately, we're all going to be registered dietitians. And so the goal is, can we build our professional network through this program? And I think we can. So as far as the middle column, you can see that active listening, building trust, encouraging and identifying goals are some of the main pieces that go across both mentor and mentee. And we're going to talk about how we can improve all those skills in the workshop today. So in today's world, there's a lot of different ways that you communicate. You know, talking face to face, although now we have face masks, but that's one way that we regularly communicate. But really, COVID has kind of flipped that around, right? So we're not able to do as much face to face as we initially had. So we're starting to see an increase in other ways that we can communicate. So when you're talking about communicating to your mentor or mentee, it doesn't just mean that you have to have a face-to-face conversation or you have to have a video chat conversation. It can include a lot of other things, right? So maybe your phone. In your phone, you may use instant messenger, you may use social media, you may use text messages, email. So those are all different modes. Sorry, I just got muted. Those are all different modes of communication. And it's important to recognize that one of your partnerships, so whether it's your mentee or if you're the mentor, the mentee, you may have different communication preferences. And so communicating that to each other about what your communication preferences is, if one of you really likes to communicate via social media, right? Maybe you message on social media. Well, the other one maybe likes to communicate via email or likes to do text messages. If you're able to talk about, hey, this is the way that I would prefer to communicate, this is what works best for me, then it makes it a lot easier to communicate effectively because you're on the same wavelength. Now, for some people, you may not be familiar with Instagram communication, such as myself. Maybe that's not my expertise. And so that may be a way where the mentor mentee meet in the middle and say, okay, maybe that's not my strong set. Can we try a different mode of communication? And this is one of the really most important things because you want to make sure that you're communicating on the same platform. But communication comes in a lot of different platforms. So I'm curious, what communication have you been involved with in your current mentoring partnership? So this is a select all that apply. I want to know, what type of communication have you used in your mentoring partnership for this year? Have you used social media, email, text, video chat, maybe a handwritten letter? I don't know if we're going to get many responses there. Phone call or face-to-face, which we're not doing as much this year. So what type of communication have you used in your mentoring partnership? We'll give it about 5 more seconds. And thank you for participating. Okay, as you can see, email is the most common form, and that's really expected, especially because some of you are in different states, different time zones, so email is one of the best modes of communication. But with that in mind, if you are in a different time zone or a different state, be mindful of what time you're communicating, right? So I'm on the East Coast, but I have family on the West Coast, and sometimes when I communicate, it's a 2 to 3 hour time difference. So be understanding in sometimes the timeliness of responses because you may miss your mentor or mentee depending on the time zone. Text message, that's a great one, especially for the younger generation. So mentors or mentees, if you are communicating with a person in the younger generations, text messages or social media are becoming more and more popular. So being cognizant of that and figuring out, hey, is that the best mode for us? That's a good thing to clarify right from the get-go. But again, you can see people have a lot of different modes of communication, and all of them are modes of communication. So it doesn't matter if it's email or video chat. It's fantastic that you're communicating because that's, again, one of the strong suits of a mentoring partnership. So there's 4 kind of main communication styles, okay? The first one is the director. So the director is very direct communication, almost sometimes abrasive, okay? They may speak quickly, speak very straightforward in what they want, what they need. They often think of things in terms of responsibilities or tasks. So a person who is a director may, when they're communicating, they may be abrasive. They may be straight and to the point. And so we're going to talk about in future slides how we can communicate with a person who's more like a director. The second one is the stabilizer. This person is friendly, quiet, maybe a little shy. They kind of need some extra time to think about this before responding. So they may not give you a quick, 5-minute response time. But even though they're quiet and maybe shy, it doesn't mean they don't have an opinion or something to say. So making sure that we're not overlooking them or overlooking their opinions, because sometimes they just need more time to process and clearly communicate what's in their mind. So that's the stabilizer. The third one is the accountant. They're very attentive to detail, almost systematic in their approach to different tasks. they respond best when they're given a lot of structure as to what they need, what they want, when it's due, and how you want it. And so when you are working on specific goals, being specific and articulate as far as what you need and when you need it by, that works best for a person with an accountant style. And the last one is the socializer. Very outgoing, optimistic, very informational. They're energetic and creative, but we want to make sure that we're not always dampening their enthusiasm. So often they're very outgoing, and excited about things. And so while you may not have the same communication style and be as excited as this person might be, try not to dampen them, but maybe smooth them out, I guess you could say. Sometimes they don't realize that there's other people on the projects because they are excited, energetic, and they feel like they are the ones who are ready to contribute. So they need to be reminded that it's important to listen, and together you can succeed moving forward. So if you can, I'm curious, type in the chat what you think your communication style is. I'm just curious. We're not going to do a poll, but if you don't mind typing in the chat. So it looks like we have the accountants, director, the socializer, the stabilizer. So you can see that if you're looking at the chat, you can see everyone has different communication styles. And so it's so important to recognize what your mentee or what your mentor, what is their communication style? Because you may have very different ways of doing something. A director versus a socializer may have different ways of doing something. And if you don't clearly communicate and understand the other communication style of your counterpart, you may be misinterpreting each other's messages. So thinking about your mentor or your mentee, think about, are they more of an accountant or are they more of a stabilizer? And if they are, how can we overcome that? How can we meet their needs? Maybe if I'm trying to work with a stabilizer mentor or mentee, maybe I just need to give them more space. So if I assign them a task, maybe they just need, hey, go ahead and get back to me in 48 hours once you're able to work through what I'm looking for. So that's a good way that you can help to meet in the middle. You understand their communication style and you're trying to meet them where they're at. So the main cornerstones of communication are to establish expectations right off the get-go. We're going to get into each of these 5 bullet points. Listening skills, having timely feedback and responses, managing conflict, and then building rapport, which we're all dietitians or aspiring dietitians. So hopefully we're excellent at building rapport because that's one of our main tasks as dietitians. So the first one, establishing expectations. I have a poll, so I'm going to go ahead and launch it. Have you worked on the mentor-mentee agreement together? So remember, this was talked about in the orientation session. It's on our website, and you're not judged for your response, so don't worry. Yes, you completed it. Yes, but would not finished it. No, but I'm interested, or no, not interested. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so it looks about half of you have completed it. Several of you have started to work on it, but maybe not yet finished, or maybe haven't started work on it, but are interested. And some of you are not interested. And all of those are okay. Remember, the mentor-mentee agreement, it's on our website. It was also sent to you in the program handbook. It's a great way to establish expectations right off the bat. So if you haven't done it or you're interested in doing it, feel free to find it on our website, or you can always email us at rdmentorshipprogram@gmail.com and we can send it to you again. So that is a great way to establish expectations right off the get-go, because you talk about how often you're going to meet, what your objectives are, what mode of communication are you going to communicate with, And then really, what do you want to get out of it? And this is both for the mentor and mentee. So thanks again for participating. The second part is listening skills. Now, we all think that we listen well, but for the most part, sometimes we listen in one ear and then it goes out the other ear because we're thinking about how we want to respond. Or maybe we're thinking about what we want to have for dinner tonight. So when we're getting instructions or we're talking over a meeting, maybe we're not truly listening. So one of the first counterpoints points of listening is understanding the needs or the wants, especially if you have a director or mentor or mentee, understanding what those needs and wants are, right? So being very direct. Or if you have someone who's more of the stabilizer, maybe they're more shy and conserved. And so we have to make sure that we understand what do they want or what do they need from you. This is especially important from mentor to mentee. If you're working on a project, sometimes your mentees don't know exactly what you want and they may need you to clarify. So if you ask them, does this make sense? Does this message come across correctly? Or can you repeat back what the assigned task is? Things like that are a great way to listen and make sure that you understand the needs and wants from your partnership. Clarifying your response. If I'm a mentee, sometimes I need to clarify what my mentor wanted or what my mentor needed. Or if I'm a mentor, sometimes my mentee may need me to clarify, or I need to clarify. Wait, were you planning on submitting that then, or are you going to have an extension because you have homework coming up or you have a big test? So really clarifying what their responses are to make sure you heard them correctly. Using that nonverbal language. So especially if you are using any sort of video chatting mechanism, if you're sitting back and kind of looking off to the side or twirling in the chair, you're really likely not listening, right? You have your mind thinking of a lot of other things going on. And when you're video chatting, you can see that. So as I'm scrolling through the video chat, I'm kind of seeing maybe some people cooking, which is fine. I'm not judging you. Maybe some people who are interested, maybe some people are wondering, man, should I be eating dessert tonight? Dinner wasn't filling enough. So you can pick up on a lot of those cues when you're video chatting. So making sure that you're having some of that nonverbal language, you're making some eye contact, having an appropriate level of volume of your voice, and just making sure that you're excited and looking at the camera periodically. Tuning into feelings and emotions. And this kind of goes with the next two bullet points, building rapport and displaying empathy. COVID has turned people's lives around. It doesn't matter who you are, in some facet of your life, it has changed your life. Now, it's especially important for both the mentors and mentees to tune into the emotions and give some empathy, because maybe the student went from in-person classes to all online, or the mentor got shifts cut, or maybe they're working more shifts, or they have an increased demand for telehealth, whatever it might be. If you can talk about the emotions and say, hey, I'm really struggling right now, I have a lot on my plate, can we reconvene in 2 weeks? Can you remind me in 2 weeks for us to talk again? Sometimes that's all it takes, is to understand where that person's coming from and displaying some empathy. While yes, you may have deadlines set in place, sometimes we don't meet deadlines. And although it's ideal that we do meet our deadlines, things come up. So displaying a little empathy is especially important right now. Okay, so we are going to hop in some breakout rooms and we're going to talk about what are some of the positive and negative experiences that you've had with listening in your current mentoring partnership and how you've responded. So what are some of the things that have happened? Did you listen and how did you respond to that? So I'm going to broadcast the situation to everyone after I get you into breakout rooms. Let me get it set up. Give me 1 minute. So there's a few of you that need to accept your breakout room. If you're in this room, can you go ahead and accept your breakout room? Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming back in. We're just going to give it a minute for everyone to rejoin the main chat. All right, welcome back. We'll have a few more people be joining in. If you can, let us know in the chat what you thought. What were some of your experiences or people in your breakout room? Were they positive or negative, and were they able to find a resolution? And if anyone would like to share, you're welcome to unmute yourself and let us know. We have about 2 minutes.
I'd like to share.
Yeah, great.
Okay, so what I found, and I feel bad because one person didn't get to talk in the breakout room because it was run out of time. But what I found, which is universal in that chat room, and I felt it myself, is that there's so much stress in their classroom, their undergrad, is that I decided in my role that I'm being there to be a support for my students because they need to tell me what their needs are. That's my role. I'm a preceptor. Tell me what you need. And I'm trying to say, like within 24 hours, if you need me, you're stuck on assignment, let me know, text me. Because they're trying to figure out what they have to do to get through it. And now they have this other burden put on them that they have to be somewhere.
Yeah, well, I really appreciate you sharing. I think that's a really good point. And that goes to, open communication and displaying empathy. You're able to recognize what the mentee needed in your particular partnership.
Yeah.
And so you have adapted, right? You're understanding the needs, and you're making sure that you're meeting him or her where they need. So that's fantastic. And I agree. There's a lot of pressure on dietetic students, and for all the dietetic students on here, we feel the pressure. I'm sorry that you're going through this. I think it's just the competitiveness of this path. And so, if you need more help or more guidance or a little bit less of a burden from your mentor, just let them know, because a lot of our mentors, they're learning too, right? They're learning how to be mentors. They're learning how to be better mentors. And so if you can more effectively communicate, then you can meet each other and making sure that you're meeting the needs. So I'm glad that for the most part, a lot of you had positive experiences in the breakout room.
Yes.
We're going to go ahead and continue on. Thank you for sharing. So one of the things with communication is being timely. This is easier said than done for the most part, but trying to respond within 24 to 48 hours is fantastic. If you're busy, you can always respond, really busy week, we'll get back to you on Friday, or we'll get back to you on Wednesday. So it doesn't have to be a full response. If you have a lot going on, just keeping in touch with, hey, here's what's going on. Can I get back to you a little bit later? Having that timely communication is helpful. And maybe it's an email, maybe it's a quick phone call, maybe it's a text message. So being timely is really helpful for both the mentor and mentee. And again, for mentees out there, we understand that you have a lot of pressure with school and volunteering and potentially work or family or whatever other responsibilities you have. But same for the mentors, right? Mentors, maybe they're working, they have families, maybe they're working multiple jobs. There's high stress right now in healthcare. So being flexible and being empathetic and understanding each other is going to help make sure that you're going to be successful long term. So managing conflict. Hopefully, between your mentor and mentee, you won't ever have conflict, but sometimes it happens. And how can we help you manage that conflict? Well, there's an acronym called STAR. Might be an easy way to remember it. Maybe you're a glimmering star of hope whenever there's conflict that's arising. The first thing we need to do is stop. Stop and think, right? We need to stop and think. And then we need to analyze the situation. What's going on and how can I respond? So rather than having a gut jerk reaction, just say, hey, maybe let's take a break. Let's take a minute. Let's figure out how we can resolve this. It doesn't mean that it has to be done in one email or in one conversation. So managing conflict sometimes just takes time. And if you ever need us, the program directors, the coordinators, we're here to help you if you ever feel uncomfortable at any time, or maybe you're not able to resolve the conflict yourself. So don't ever feel like you're alone. We have a fantastic team of students and faculty, and so we can address the needs on both sides, and we can really relate to whatever situation, hopefully, that you're going through. But when you're having a conflict, whether it's a mentee or mentor, just take a minute and stop. Take a step back and think about what's going on. Maybe there's something personal going on. Maybe there's something work related going on. And here, we'll see intertwined again is empathy and understanding, because that's one of the best ways to manage conflict is to communicate and really put yourself in the other's shoes to understand what's going on, and then respond. And again, managing conflict may not happen overnight. It may take a couple sessions to be talking through the conflict. So, what are some different resolution strategies when it comes to conflict? Just like the different communication strategies, there's different ways that people resolve conflict. And so understanding how your mentor or mentee resolves conflict may help you in navigating the situation. The first one is avoiding. So waiting to see how it plays out, maybe put it aside, or needing to quote unquote calm down. This may be that a way that one person manages their conflict. So it doesn't mean that they don't want to be attentive to the issue at hand, but maybe they just need to wait and see if it's going to resolve on its own, or maybe they're going to wait and see if maybe it gets better, or they need more time. So avoiding is one strategy that people have. The second one is forceful. This is not always ideal, but sometimes this is a way that people resolve conflict. It's a win-lose scenario. It's standing firm, so not really displaying any empathy. Standing firm, saying, hey, you have a deadline of next Friday. If you don't have that assignment done, or if you're not timely in responding by Friday, then we can no longer be in this partnership. Something like that. That's very forceful, and it's not very inviting. So whether it's the mentor or mentee that's being forceful, it kind of puts a bad taste in people's mouths. So while this is a resolution strategy, it's not always the most successful. But sometimes it's what that person may need at that point in time. Maybe they have a lot of other responsibilities, and it's like, look, if you're not able to get this done, this isn't going to work out. That's not to say that it was a bad partnership. Just maybe personal things happened, and you're not able to continue on. So a force is another strategy. The third one is accommodating. And I will say from personal experience, I'm terrible at admitting I'm wrong. So sometimes we have to admit that we're wrong, saying, hey, I'm sorry that I put you in this situation, or I'm sorry I was wrong. So acknowledging maybe the mentor or mentee that we can accommodate, we can fix this, right? I know, raise your hand if you're on here. If you're on video, you can raise your hand if you ever hate saying you're admitting you're wrong, or you can type it in the chat box. Is there anyone else in that same boat as me? See, okay, we have a few people raising their hand. Yeah, so as much as we all want to be perfect, we have to accommodate, right? And admitting we're wrong is one way that we can accommodate that. So acknowledging that and making a plan of moving forward can be a successful way of managing that conflict. The fourth way is compromise. This is probably one of the best ways. How can you meet in the middle? It's not to say that you're giving up on the other person or giving up on, hey, I really want this project done, or hey, I have an assignment that I have to devote time to. So how can you compromise? Can you make mutual concessions, right? Okay, let's drop this part of the project and let's spend more time on this part. That may be a nice way that you're compromising in order to be successful in the end. And then one of my favorites is collaborate. This is a great way to manage conflict because you can work together to move forward. So, negotiating, figuring out, hey, here's your strong suit. Maybe your strong suit is social media, or maybe your strong suit is communicating or developing emails, or whatever it might be. Because I know all of you are in a lot of different projects and a lot of different realms of dietetics. But collaborating, and that is a great way to help to resolve whatever issue is at hand. Maybe you just needed to work together. Maybe there was confusion as to what the person was supposed to do on the project. So if you collaborate, okay, you work on the graphics, I'm going to work on the text, let's get this flyer done, right? And so it's a nice way to kind of meet in the middle. So you're maybe doing a little bit of compromising, but you're also collaborating and working together. This is the most successful way to manage conflict. But again, sometimes conflict, the way that it's resolved, is any of these different strategies. It's not uniform, right? It's not like every one I'm like, okay, let's sit down and compromise. Sometimes it's a yes, no. Okay, we need to have this deadline or this done by the deadline. So here's what you have to do. Here's what I have to do. It's almost like forceful or accommodating. So those are some different strategies. So when you have a conflict in your partnership, think about, what are ways that I can better approach it? Is there a better way that I can communicate so that way I can be more successful in resolving this conflict? Okay, so we're going to spend about 5 or 6 minutes and we're going to do a breakout room. So in this breakout room, I want you to talk about ways that you've resolved conflict. So are you more of a collaborator? Maybe you have a situation that you were more of a collaborator versus some that you avoid. Maybe you just don't like conflict and you like to avoid. This is totally my mom. She just goes the other direction and tries to avoid all conflict. Maybe you compromise, or maybe you competed. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and stop share. And then we're going to spend about 6 minutes in the breakout room. So hopefully you can all comment, enjoy, and let us know if you have any issues. Welcome back, everyone. Looks like we got 15 more seconds till everyone else returns.
We're editing it, my colleague and I.
All right. If you can, type in the chat, or if you would like to unmute yourself, let us know how it went. Do you feel like people in your group were able to resolve conflict, or did they kind of keep lingering on?
Yeah, I definitely feel as though the people in my group were able to resolve conflict, and it gave a different perspective on how to do that. Whether it was seeking advice from someone who was like at a higher, like the director of the program or anything like that, seeking advice on how to best approach the conflict, creating contracts within the group, and those are the terms that you agree on with within the group. Because I always do think it is good to seek advice from others, potentially, whether you're feeling a certain way about something. And it's just good to be like, have that backboard person to be like, am I being crazy or not?
Yes, Victoria, I'm glad that you commented on that. You know, our research team is always here. If you need, like you said, a soundboard, if you need to bounce an idea off of us or you're having an issue, you can always reach out to us for help. But you can see, you know, from some of the other comments in the chat box, it's nice hearing other experiences because all of us have gone through a conflict in some way or another. And every strategy, there's not like one simple way. It's not like you're put in a box and this is how you respond. It's very situational. And so understanding those different communication strategies and different resolution strategies can help you to be more successful, hopefully. So thank you, Victoria, for participating. Anyone else have a comment?
Well, in our group, I think we felt that depending on the situation, you might have to employ one or more of the strategies. There was maybe even all of them at a given time. So we felt that we needed to be flexible to make sure that we didn't just be one or the other type, or employ one or the other type of strategy. It just depended on situations and what we needed to do.
Fantastic. Yeah, and I agree. I mean, being flexible is going to be one of the most important aspects, and that's what we were talking about earlier. But if you understand, you know, these different communication strategies, that can help you to be more flexible because if you're dealing with someone who's more directive, you can like kind of approach them in a different way versus someone who's more like the accountant or the stabilizer. So thank you for commenting and letting us know about your experiences. Well, we just have a few slides left. Really, it just talks about some tips. So on the mentee side, what are some ways to be a better and more effective communicator? Trying to listen and listen proactively. So thinking about, okay, what's being said, what do I need to do, and how can I help my mentor or this mentoring partnership? Asking questions to confirm your understanding. So don't be afraid to say, hey, can you repeat that or clarify that? Because asking those questions will make you look better because you're going to be more successful as a mentee if you understand what the expectations are from the mentor. Being timely, and being timely doesn't mean that you have to submit everything on time. It just means, are you timely in your communication? If you need additional time, like Carol had said, the mentors are flexible for the most part. And if they're not, send us an email and we can help with the flexibility part, okay? But in general, most of the mentors and mentees are really flexible, but we have to be able to communicate because if you just don't respond, we don't know what's happening in your personal life. Is it because you just didn't read the email, or is it because you had something going on and you just weren't able to get to it? So having that timely communication is helpful. Using that clear, simple communication. Okay, this is what I need, or this is what I need help on. And then using those different modes of communication. So maybe a text, maybe an email, thinking about what works best for your mentor. And going back to that mentor-mentee agreement, talking about those different modes of communications can help you to be more successful. If I understand that my mentor or mentee likes to communicate via email, maybe that's the way I communicate, versus some like a text message. And some feel a text message is not sufficient. So, just talking about that among your partnership and figuring out what works best. And lastly, reach out for help. If you ever have an issue in your mentoring partnership, if you have a conflict, if you're confused, if you feel like there's a big burden, if you're excited and you love the program, let us know. Let us know how we can make your mentoring partnership more successful. And for the mentors, deal with some of these smaller issues before they grow. So if you have a communication issue, maybe the timeliness of your mentee, let them know, hey, I'd really like for you to respond within 3 days, even if it's a quick text message to keep me updated, right? So kind of hashing out those fires before they grow. Recognize those misunderstandings. I'm sorry we had a misunderstanding. How can we move forward, right? How can we collaborate and move past this? Just because you have a misunderstanding doesn't mean your mentee doesn't want to be your mentee. It just might be a misunderstanding, and you have to figure out how to resolve that. Using the multiple means of communication, because again, people communicate in different ways. So understanding that, being aware of how you come across. I would say I'm more of like the director style. So I'm very abrasive sometimes. And sometimes that comes across as really rude. So I'm trying to take a step back. Hey, did y'all have any questions? Do you understand? Is there anything else that I can help you with? So I kind of try to play both roles because I am usually more of the director's type. So understanding those different communication styles is helpful. Collecting feedback, this is what your mentee liked or didn't like. How can you improve on that? And then lastly, reach out for help. We are here for you, whether you're a mentor or a mentee. If you ever need us, we are here. Again, it's rdmentorshipprogram@gmail.com. We are pretty timely, usually respond within 24 hours. And if we don't respond, send us a follow-up email. Hey, you didn't get back to me. I really need help here. Okay. And the last part, there are 2 resources from the Academy about leadership and just professional development, mentoring, networking. So these are resources for you. I'm not going to pull them up today, but I am going to be sharing the slide set with you. And for the registered dietitians on the call, I'm also going to be sending your continuing education certificate. So that is the end of what I want to talk about. I know we covered a lot, but I hope you were able to talk and communicate with other mentors and mentees. And I hope you felt like this was helpful for your partnership. If there's any questions, we have 4 minutes. Feel free to type in the chat box, or you can unmute yourself and let us know. If you don't have any questions, you are welcome to pop off. We really appreciate your time and dedication into this program. And we will be having another professional development session in early 2021. So if there's any questions, let us know. All right, it doesn't sound like there's any questions. So thank you all for participating. We'll see you again in early 2021. Have a great day.